All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Relief Valve Podcast. Happy January 6th. This was a great day. It was when real patriots rose up to fight back against a tyrannical government that stole an election. So January 6th will always be, I think it should be a holiday for conservatives. Did it go poorly? Yes, it did. But the thought was there. The thought that counted. So happy January 6th, everyone. And apparently, I'm not the only one that feels that way. January 6ers assemble in Washington, D.C. for the 5th anniversary. I'm not sure it was many, but here we go.
I need everybody back in the third. Everybody here's back, man.
Got this cop over here. Looks like he's got Down syndrome. They're going to take care of the situation here. All right, who gives a fuck about the cops? Show me the protesters. What is this fucking video? 35 minutes. All right, let's... This, in our defense, this may not be our best and brightest here today, but I do appreciate the energy. You lost your blanket there, madam. I do appreciate the energy and the some energy and some enthusiasm. Fuck Antifa, I agree with that. I like that. There we go. Get something going here, guys. Daddy's home. Daddy is home. He's struggling with his flag. I don't know. I don't know why they need Capitol Police for this. I mean, is there 100 people? An argument to be made for 200? Oh, Ashley Babbitt was a woman that was murdered by the Capitol Police officer. Fucking scumbag. Trump Pence. Get the fuck out of here. Pence is a traitor. Fucking weasel scumbag. I mean, I would hesitate to say there's 200 here. And you need the Capitol Police maintaining a fucking line.
Ford, we won't offer you no cake today. Oh. Well, you don't get in trouble from the haters. Plus, we don't have any
Some
cake.
great camera work. No, I feel like I'm on a fucking Spitfire in World War II. Are we going in for a dive bomb? All right, so happy January 6th, everyone. Anyway, now let's get to... Tampon Tim has, of the controversy over the fake Somali daycares, has now dropped out of the race. He's no longer running for governor of, governor of Minnesota. And so he's a failed vice presidential candidate. Now he's always been a failed governor, but he's made it official today. He's no longer running.
Governor Tim Walz has announced he is dropping out of the race for re-election.
This is big, just within the last half hour or so. It's something we were tipped off to last night, but the governor made that announcement official here just earlier this morning. In a statement, he said, quote, "I've decided to step out of the race and let others worry about the election while I focus on the work." Adding, quote,
yeah, the work of
"I know this
stealing
may come
as
as
much
a
more
surprise,
taxpayer
but
dollars as I
I'm
can on the
race
way out the
with
door.
Zero sadness and zero regret.
Shitbag.
After all, I didn't
I bet he
run
has
for this
zero
job so
regrets.
I could have this
Regrets.
job. I ran for this job so I could do this job."
The governor also
did
faced
right.
intense national scrutiny
Lie in your
over the
pocket.
last several weeks as President Trump and several others accused the governor of being slow to respond to some of the fraud that's been going on, some of the alleged Medicaid and social service fraud. In his statement this morning, while saying, quote, "Make no mistake, we should be concerned about fraud in our state government," adding, "We cannot effectively deliver programs and services if we can't earn the public's trust. That's why, over the past few years, we have made systemic changes to the way we do business. We expect to hear from Governor Walz in just a couple of hours during our 11 o'clock news, and he'll have an 11 o'clock news conference. We'll bring it to you right here live.
And he just comes on and says, blah, 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 I like Dick, and then I stole taxpayer dollars. That's pretty much the only speech from Tampon Tim. So good riddance to him, but I hope there's charges against him, and I hope he goes to jail, as I would imagine he's part of the embezzling scheme, you know, or trading, embezzling for votes and having the whole Somali pirate community vote for him. All right, so in another weird story here, we've got a Russian cargo ship that was flying a false flag to fly under the radar, ends up being sunk potentially by a submarine, and it was carrying nuclear components. Here's some of the story. So the shadow vessel is what they call these ships that fly under a false flag and a false designation, a designation or registered in another country, but it is shipping for the country that it's trying to, you know, involve being stopped for. So, you know, Russian flies under another flag, and any of the other countries that have an embargo against them as well, they'll fly false flags. That's shadow vessels. That's not actual video there. So it was a ship with potentially nuclear reactors or parts for building a nuclear reactor that was heading to North Korea, and it was sunk on its way to North Korea.
A new investigative report has revealed alarming details about a Russian cargo ship that sank in late December 2024. The findings were published by the Spanish regional newspaper La Verdad, which uncovered what may be one of the most secretive maritime incidents of the year. According to the report, the vessel was allegedly carrying undeclared components meant for 2 nuclear reactors, with a final destination believed to be North Korea. Among the suspected cargo were containers linked to the VM4SG nuclear reactor model, including specialized reactor covers and engineering parts. Spanish investigators said they were still uncertain whether the ship also carried any form of nuclear fuel, a question that remains unanswered. The report hints at something far more sinister, suggesting that the ship may have been deliberately disabled by an underwater strike consistent with a torpedo hit. Experts analyzing the wreckage said the dimensions of the hull breach pointed to the use of a supercavitating torpedo. It is a high-speed weapon capable of cutting through a target without a massive onboard detonation. Supporting evidence came from seismographic readings when the ship sank, which recorded signals matching explosions equivalent to between 20 and 50 kilograms of TNT.
So, and that makes sense, right? If the ship is carrying nuclear components, you use that torpedo in order to drill and damage the hull and get the ship sinking, rather than blow the ship up and potentially have a small nuclear disaster and wherever the, you know, if the components are to explode. So they were trying to get components, the parts for nuclear reactors to North Korea, and ended up getting torpedoed, supposedly. So covert op sabotage. So
the vessel, identified as the Ursa Major, sank on December 23, 2024, in the waters lying between Spain and Algeria.
That wasn't a good pre-Christmas Eve for them,
Spanish maritime controllers first detected the ship after it began moving erratically across radar channels, as per reports. When contacted by radio, crew members initially responded that everything was fine, according to La Verdad. Soon, an emergency mayday call was received, prompting authorities to dispatch rescue teams to the scene. 14 crew members were rescued from the sinking ship, while 2 others were reported missing at sea. The ship's captain reportedly told investigators that the cargo consisted of empty containers and heavy machinery, and described hearing explosions before the vessel went down. Moscow quickly labeled the incident an act of terrorism and claimed that explosions targeted the ship's engine room. Russian officials objected to Spain's attempts to inspect the wreck, demanding control of the vessel and the investigation. However, A Spanish probe has concluded that the Ursa Major had been covertly transporting sensitive nuclear equipment destined for North Korea's Rason port city. The incident came just months after Russia and North Korea signed a new strategic partnership agreement in June 2024, a deal that faces scrutiny.
So there you go. We'll see if more information ever comes out about that. I mean, I seriously doubt it. They're going to try and cover that up, play it off as something else. But, you know, it was Spanish waters. As it was en route, and it got sunk there, and the Spaniards have control of the wreck now, and Russia is demanding access to it and for them alone to get it, and not for another country. So we'll see if they were trying to ship that stuff to North Korea. North Korea wants to be its own little superpower, and you know they're trying to up their nuclear game. So you know we've got concerns with places like Iran and others with nuclear programs, but I'd definitely be keeping an eye on North Korea as well. So I went over the other day about the Nicolas Maduro thing here, and he has been brought into trial, pre-trial in New York. He and his wife have both pled not guilty to being dictator shitbags. Naturally, he's got a public defender. I don't know if they locked down all his money and he can't afford a regular lawyer. I'm sure some left-wing communist shitbag would be willing to represent him pro bono, but right now he's got a public defender defending him in court, and the next date is going to be in like May, so he's going to be cooling his heels for the next couple of months.
Point out too, his wife now has counsel as well. Texas Attorney Mark Donnelly filed a motion to be admitted as counsel for Celia Adela Flores de Maduro. So I believe that there are something is happening with her right now, according to Paul's notes in the room. It appears we are getting a sense of a very defiant Maduro in this courtroom, right, insisting he has done nothing wrong repeatedly to the point where the judge has had to stop him from talking.
Yeah, and he said, well, we could talk about the 4 counts and the fact that you want to, say that you're not guilty to all 4, but we're not doing it today. I want to bring in Carrie Urban. Again, we have...
Okay, so you know about that. That's where we're at right now with Maduro. You got a transition happening in Venezuela. They've sworn in his vice president, who is still trying to run the show, while Trump is saying that the United States is going to temporarily run and restore calm in Venezuela until they have either a fair election or they bring in Pichardo, that who just won the most recent round of elections, or Edmundo, who was the one that won against Maduro the first time before Pichardo, and both are essentially in exile at this point. Edmundo escaped in exile, and Pichardo, the U.S. helped her escape. And she went to go receive the Nobel Peace Prize in Sweden or something like that, or Norway. I want to say she went to Norway. And it's possible she could be brought back in to be the new leader, but they would have to oust the vice president because they've put her in right now. But aside from that information, the Relief Valve podcast has obtained exclusive video from the attack and the seizure of the dictator Nicolas Maduro, and I'd like to play a little bit of that video right here. This is a first that no one else has.
The mother of all targets. Sayonara, Sodom.
So there you go, some exclusive video for when the U.S. went in and captured him. He was able to get out of the explosion successfully, and U.S. forces were able to detain him and bring him back to the United States. All right, so moving on here, Mark Kelly has been this shitbag is a Democrat. I don't know if he's not a senator or he's a congressman or he's running for Congress. He served in the military. He became a Democrat. He's a scumbag. And here's some of that. So Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, I still can't get over that. Instead of the Secretary of Defense, is now the Secretary of War. Which, I mean, just sounds cool, right? I mean, if we talk about, we say we want to have peace. We're a peacetime nation. We're going to help everybody. But if you have any questions, I'd like to refer you to the Secretary of War. It's fine. It's fine. I love it. I think it's fucking great. It should be the Secretary of Mass Destruction. There's other cool names we could come up with too. But Pete Hegseth has, because Mark Kelly in this video here with him and his shitbag fellow Democrats were telling soldiers, essentially, if there's orders that you get from President Trump, you have a duty not to follow them, and you shouldn't. So essentially pushing for failure to follow orders within their ranks, dissension in their ranks. Here was a little bit of that video with all these Democrat shitbags.
Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
Like us. You all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now,
you know what's funny? The corrupt Biden regime and the Democrats pushed the CIA against us. They pushed the DOJ against us, with them investigating parents who are complaining about trans books and like hardcore gay LGBT books in children's classrooms. The DOJ, the FBI, and then some elements of the CIA were all involved in investigating American citizens and going after these parents. But you didn't see one of these fucking pieces of shit saying anything about it. But now that the troops are following normal orders under Trump, now the message is don't follow those orders. So every single one of these pieces of trash are fucking traitors. This taboo with people who serve. I don't give a fuck that you served. I don't give a fuck that you did your time. You are not better than me. You came back to become a traitor that hates your country and wants to work against the American citizens. That's not a soldier that should be idealized in any way, shape, or form.
The threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
So there's all those fucking traitors saying you should refuse illegal orders. So now Pete Hegseth has said that despite the fact that Mark Kelly is retired and receiving his pension currently, it is still a violation of the oath you took of being a former soldier in order to be pushing this bullshit propaganda. So at this point, Pete Hegseth has, I think, reduced his rank, and then his pay will be, his take-home pay for his retirement benefits will be reduced as a point of having his rank reduced. Now, I guess he's got 30 days in order to protest this and go before a tribunal, or go before a court and have a hearing to discuss the whole thing. But that's what's happened. Here's a little bit on that.
Well, thank you. We've got some breaking news out of our nation's capital this morning. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is censuring Arizona Democratic Senator Mark Kelly.
Colton Schoen live in the newsroom right now following the latest developments. Colton, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Tess, and good morning, Scott. So this all stems from that video featuring Kelly that called on troops to resist unlawful orders. You may remember. Watch this.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
Kelly was one of several lawmakers in this video that called on troops to resist unlawful orders. And this, as you know, sparked a political firestorm, with President Trump accusing the lawmakers of seditious acts that is, quote, punishable by death. However, Kelly is the only one being censured. Hegseth posted about the news on Twitter, saying the Defense Department has started proceedings to demote Kelly's military ranking of captain, which would mean a pay reduction if it goes through. Hegseth has said that Kelly now has 30 days to respond to this, and the retirement grade determination process will be complete in 45 days. We are reaching out to Senator Kelly's team to let you know what his response.
So, I don't know why he doesn't censure the other ones as well. The other Navy, Air Force, the CIA bitch. I don't know why he's not going after them too, and just Mark Kelly. They're all fucking scumbags, and he should go after all of them. Okay, so moving on to the UN, the most useless, a corrupt hive of scum and villainy. I guess I was watching this, and I guess each country gets to be in charge for a month, if I understood that correctly. and the newest president of the UN is the fucking representative from Somalia. I mean, the whole thing's a joke. So you each get to be in charge for 1 month, and then you step down and somebody else is voted in, and that country needs to be in charge of essentially doing nothing. I don't know what the UN does that's useful to any human being on the planet. It's an absolute shit show. I'm not going to play all this for you because I watched it so you don't have to, even though it was fucking torture. But what they do is, and they were discussing Venezuela in this particular thing. So they went around the circle. They've got this video table and a screen with 4 sides, and then any guests or anybody that they have on that would say their piece. They had a woman from Venezuela who was talking about how happy the people are and how much they suffered under the Biden, not the Biden regime, the Maduro regime. And she got to say her piece, but these fucking retards they're probably making millions upon millions of dollars at the UN. Couldn't get the video right, couldn't get the sound right. The interpreter that was supposed to talk to everybody was a fucking retard. Half the time he couldn't get what each person was saying. I mean, a bunch of absolute overpaid failures in the UN. And they went around the whole room to each host country, Chile and Peru and Venezuela got their time to talk. Their representative was there. The United States did. Russia did. I don't think Somalia did. Uganda did. The other countries no one gives a shit about, and they have like 5 guys with guns. And this was all to talk about what the UN's reaction to the US's attacks on Venezuela. And most of the countries were like, we don't like this, we think this is bad, and America should stop right away. And the other ones were like, well, none of us recognize Maduro as the president, and America wanted to kidnap a narco-terrorist guy, so we're like, all right. just try to restore peace and make sure the people of Venezuela were safe. That was like the general consensus. They were like, Maduro's not the president of Venezuela. And none of us were, even the ones that were like, we don't like what America did, and we don't like that they went in there intact and 80 people were killed. But also, none of us recognize Maduro as the president of Venezuela. So basically, the whole thing was a dog and pony show. It was completely useless. I think they ended up deciding to vote. It's funny when Russia comes up and says, this was completely wrong of America to come and attack another sovereign nation and take their leader, and in the meantime they're in the middle of like burning Ukraine to the ground. But it's just awesome that they've got a problem with it too. It's like fucking pot calling the kettle black, huh? So I mean, this was just an absolute shit show. This is a little bit of what it looks like.
President.
So
today,
this dumb bitch, this dumb white leftist cunt talked, and then so this one was from Venezuela, and this is when they were having the sound issues. So all of the participating countries in the UN are in the circle part of this table. They're all called on to make a bullshit statement and say their piece about what they feel about something. I mean, they all had similar things to say when Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia is still on the UN Council, is still part of votes and part of participation. So the entire thing is a joke. It's a dog and pony show. Nothing was accomplished. I guess it was a morbid curiosity of mine to see how this shit show worked. And trust me, you're not missing anything. It's the same lines, the same crap. I wish this shouldn't have happened. This is bad. Let's bring it to a stop now. Maduro's not president. We hope there's a resolution and the people of Venezuela are safe. And we're giving a call to action for President Trump to not do anything else. It's like total absolute bullshit. So the UN is going to do nothing. It has no power. The power relies in the countries that participate within the UN, which means that country has to step up and take some sort of action against superpowers that are going to beat the fuck out of them. So the superpowers don't give a fuck. Even England, who has gone radically left and they're going nuts over there, were like, yeah, we're not upset with America. We just hope the people of Venezuela are safe and this whole thing gets worked out. I was surprised about what England said, but the rest of the superpowers were, they said they're bullshit and whatever. But what are you gonna fucking do to them? Nothing. Okay, so now we're moving on to another story here. A break-in at Vice President J.D. Vance's home. in Ohio. He wasn't there at the time, but it looks like a crazed trans leftist, more trans violence. I mean, what else do you need to learn about the trans community before you realize the mental illness that is so prevalent through the whole thing? If I start cutting body parts off while simultaneously telling you I am perfectly fine and there is nothing to worry about here in my life or my household, you should doubt every one of those words. But I don't know how anyone thinks that trans people are normal people. They're not. Just by making the choice and going through even 1/3 of the actions is total mental instability. But here's some information on the break-in.
To some breaking news that we are following on this Monday morning. Take a look at this, a social media post courtesy of TMZ as we follow some developments having to do with Vice President J.D. Vance. It says that J.D. Vance's Ohio home windows broken in incident, one person taken into custody. We do have some footage from that incident earlier on today that was brought to us by several of our partners that are covering this story intently. TMZ, though, goes on to say this: Vice President J.D. Vance had a frightening incident happen overnight at his Ohio home, and one person is now in custody. The chief of communications for the Secret Service told TMZ, quote, an adult male was taken into custody by the Cincinnati Police Department after being detained by U.S. Secret Service personnel for causing property damage, including breaking windows on the exterior of a personal residence associated with the vice president. That same agent said that the home was unoccupied at the time of the incident and that the vice president and his family were not in Ohio. A local news outlet there did obtain the images of some of those damaged windows of that property. And TMZ goes on to report that a source with direct knowledge told them it's unclear whether the suspect was trying to break in or vandalize the property. Moving forward, the man will be interviewed by Secret Service agents to learn more of his intentions. They also added that the U.S. Secret Service is coordinating with the Cincinnati Police Department and the U.S. Attorney's Office is charging decisions are being reviewed. I also want to put up a social media post from the New York Post as they are covering the story closely as well. One person arrested after windows broken at J.D. Vance's Cincinnati home. Now, this is a developing story, so we only have some
preliminary... Show the person, you fucking shitbags. Here.
One man is now in...
There you go. Look, don't all the leftists have the same look? Just crazy and surprised. You mean I'm not a woman? Huh?
In custody following an attempted break-in at Vice President J.D. Vance's Cincinnati home this morning.
Where am I?
Police arresting the suspect after they found him smashing a window with a hammer. News Nation's Mills Hayes joins us live. So, Mills, what is the latest on this investigation?
Nicole, police are still investigating this attempted break-in at Vice President Vance's Cincinnati home. Vance on X saying that a crazy person tried to break in by hammering the windows, and a law enforcement official confirmed the suspect to News Nation as 26-year-old William DeFore. He was charged with one felony count of vandalism and...
Well, 26 years old, felony charges, vandalism, misdemeanor, obstructing official business, criminal damaging of, I imagine,
three
property.
Misdemeanors for obstructing official business, criminal damaging or endangering, and criminal trespass. DeFore has prior criminal charges of vandalism and was actually put under the guardianship of his mother in 2024 because of a mental illness, according to court records. DeFore also allegedly vandalized a Secret Service vehicle on his way up the driveway. He was detained by the Secret Service, and the Cincinnati police later took him into custody. The Vice President had been at his home in Cincinnati for most of last week until meeting.
I love the Secret Service's things here. The USSS, this is United States Secret Service, but it just reminds me from that movie Hot Shot. The name of the aircraft carrier was the USS ESS, I think. And it's just who do you represent? Us.
last week until meeting with President Trump
come up with something
at
better than that.
Mar-a-Lago Friday,
Get the PR
briefly
team on
before
that.
the strikes in Venezuela. He was back in Cincinnati for the weekend before leaving Sunday afternoon, meaning thankfully he and his family were not home at the time. One former Secret Service agent tells me there will likely be an internal investigation into how this man was able to get so close to the home.
Obviously, there's been some mistakes made,
Yeah, because I know they weren't at the house, but there should have been Secret Service protection there, right? So why was this Looney Tune able to walk right up to the property and smash a window? So the Secret Service sucks. I mean, Trump got shot, and that group of retards he had with him when Biden was in office, like the short fat chick and the other dummies, and they're all like, instead of protecting the president, they're like hanging on his shoulders, and he's still a target and his core, and they're all hanging here like, we're scared too. What do we do? They're fucking idiots. Okay, so so before we do the Iran thing, I want to get to all of you college shitbags that did your gender studies and your lesbian dance theory, and you decided not to pay any of your loans, and you're defaulting at this point on all of them. Apparently, the Trump administration has put in a new garnishment issue starting tomorrow, the 7th. And they will start garnishing your paychecks for some of you who have not been paying off your college debt.
By the way, if you have a student loan and you are not paying it, the Trump administration plans to garnish your wages. The Education Department will send notices. About 1,000 people will get that the first week of January. More notices will follow. And tonight, we asked the Director of Student Advocacy at Scholarship Al what to do if you're in default.
You should contact your loan servicer, and if you don't know who's servicing your loan, you can go to studentaid.gov, and there's a widget there on that website where you can actually input some details about yourself, and they will find your loan. So when you contact your loan servicer, you can talk to them and ask them about the payment plan you're currently on. It's a little confusing because if you've already borrowed money previously, then you might be in an expiring payment plan because the Trump administration is now changing to just 2 repayment plans.
Now, the new repayment plan will start July 1st. That gives you some time to get a new plan if you are still in good standing. But millions of borrowers are considered in default, meaning they are 270 days past due. The department has to give 30 days notice before garnishing your paycheck.
So there you go. You shitbag kids, pay off your fucking loans. I'm paying off old credit cards and making deals for that stuff to finalize them. If I got to do it, you fucking guys got to pay off these loans for your bullshit degree that you got that probably amounts to absolutely nothing. But you're going to be garnished whether you like it or not, apparently. So it starts tomorrow. I hope you have all your ducks in a row for all of that. Okay, in finalizing here, we've got... The crisis in Iran, the protests and the fighting back of the civilian population here is getting worse. The word is that they have essentially taken control of Tehran, the capital city of Iran, at this point. I don't know if they've fully overwhelmed the local forces, and I don't know if the military's been brought to bear, but at least civilians have taken over a fair amount, if not all, of Tehran, and are spreading to take over multiple towns where they've taken over completely at this point. And allegedly there is a plan in place, and this is where Venezuela came into play. The mullahs were considering taking themselves and their families and escaping to Venezuela. With America hitting Venezuela and trying to take control over there, the mullahs are not going to be safe in Venezuela. So the new plan, allegedly, is that they will escape to Russia if they need to. But this is not stopping at this point, and it looks possible that we're looking at a revolution in real time in Iran.
Demonstrations in Iran are entering their second week, fueled by soaring prices and deep frustration with years of international isolation. Protests have spread to more than 220 locations across most of Iran's provinces, including the capital, Tehran, as the Islamic Republic's economy continues to unravel. Iran's currency has plunged into a free fall, with the rial now trading at more than $1 million to $1 US. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, dismissed the unrest and issued a warning as security forces moved to contain the demonstrations.
We talked to protesters. The officials must talk to them.
but there is no benefit to talking to rioters. Rioters must be put in their place.
According to the U.S.-based human rights activists news agency, at least 19 people have been killed and more than 990 arrested, underscoring the growing volatility facing the regime at a moment of heightened international pressure. That pressure is now being amplified beyond Iran's borders. The weekend capture of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife in a surprise U.S. nighttime operation puts more pressure on Tehran. Venezuela has long served as a critical lifeline for the mullahs, allowing the regime to bypass sanctions in order to fund its armed proxies in their war on Israel. Hezbollah has also benefited by using Venezuela to raise funds through criminal and narcotics ties. After returning from meeting with President Trump in Florida, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised the operation.
We congratulate President Trump on his decision, and we also salute the American military forces who carried out a perfect operation. We know how to appreciate something like that.
Netanyahu also confirmed Iran's nuclear program was central in his talks with Trump.
We reiterated our common position of zero enrichment and the need to remove the 400 kilograms of enriched material from Iran.
Venezuela's now acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, delivered a combative address on Saturday, suggesting that Israel played a role in the decision to launch the U.S. operation against her country. The governments of the world are simply shocked that it is the Bolivarian government of Venezuela which is the victim and subject of an attack of this nature, which has without a doubt a Zionist tint. Rodriguez demanded the couple's release, accused Washington of targeting Venezuela's energy resources, and ordered troops to be deployed across major cities. For Iran, the fall of Maduro comes at a moment of deep internal unrest, stripping the regime of an overseas lifeline just as its economy falters and protests spread nationwide. Joshua Swanson, CBN News, Jerusalem.
So there you go. That's the updates I've got over
Demonstrations
the last
in Iran
couple of days here. Please like,
week.
share, support, and subscribe to the show if you like what you're seeing. And I'll be back more this week with more updates of what's going on in the world. Thanks, everyone, and I'll talk to you all again real soon.